Oh my goodness, almost cut my hair. Well, not recently, but hey, I remember back in the day where having long hair was man, you can get yourself beat up for that. And you know, people just weren't digging the same thing at the same time. But yeah, anyway, I wore my hair long and enjoyed it. And so I hope you did too. So hello everybody. It is Wednesday, hump day all over the world. And I think it's Thursday to over on the other side of the world, down on the other side of the world. Yeah. Hello, Jules. I think you went to bed already. Okay. I was out shoveling snow in the cold, and I want to tell you what, man, it's cold. I mean, it's kind of cold that, man, it hurts to breathe in because the air is so cold. So anyway, what's happening, everybody? Good to see you. Ah, air is so cold and so dry, yet we got this snow that was using a snowblower. I mean, actual leaf blower. So, yeah. So, what's up, everybody? Hey, David Castle, what's happening? Good to see you. Hello, Rufus. We got Jules, Dave Sullivan, Jackie. Chloe, what's up? Kimberly, hello, everybody. God, it's cold. I just want to tell you what, had to wear long johns. I mean, yeah. I don't mind snow, but man, when it's like one below zero and there's just a little breeze in the air, yeah, you feel it all the way down. So, hey, Nancy, what's up? 15 in Oklahoma City. Wow. Having any winter storm over there? Because I think we're sending this to the east. So, all of y'all to the east of us, Colorado. Yeah, have fun with it. Meteorologically, I guess what next Tuesday is March 1st. So that's cool. That is the first day of spring, although I'm not buying it. I have seen it snow here all the way on Mother's Day. So, anyway, folks, just sitting back enjoying the day. It's a great vibe going on. Let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Full restoration. All that has been taken from you, stolen from you, reclaim it. It's a universal law. And the force behind it, there's a penalty to that. So you get to collect on the penalty. Sevenfold is what they say. Hello, Jackie. Good to see you, my dear. So good to see you. Give my love to the little one. Marie, how are you doing? Are you still in timeout? I love you, Marie. You got the warrior spirit. Hey, Guy and Paul, good to see you. Marie, she got fire in that spirit of hers. Hello, Delaney. Good to see you, my love. Linda Brooks. Hello, Robert Vay. Good to see you as well. So, Teresa, I saw the video sent me on the angels. Interesting. I mean, there was clearly something going on. Hey, Lost in Space. Good to see you, brother. Weird. Were those angels? And again, here's my question. So Christianity by a religion is really kind of the new kid on the block. And my point is, was there a conversion? I mean, do you have to be converted in the spiritual realm? That's the thing about demon exorcism. So wait a minute. You're telling me an unseen entity that's evil, of course, you got to have evil, because I don't ever see him exorcise good spirits out. Come out of you, you good, truthful spirit. Those are, I guess, are okay to keep, right? So The name itself is fictitious. We know how it came about, but these are long-lived species of something, some sort of beings, I guess. I know what I was taught in my former religion. Losing my religion. Hear an REM in my head. But I digress. So here's my point. Are they in this play as well? I mean, I command you to come out in Jesus' name. But wait a minute. The Spirit's been around before Jesus ever was contrived on any thought. So what's the deal? I mean, you got to ask yourself, what's the deal? So getting back to Teresa and sending the video she sent me on these angels descending in this church, I'm going, so, okay, so what's going on here? Are they in on the game too? I mean, I don't know. Because the whole idea about now angels. So, and then think about this. We study angels here. We know that they're heavily influenced in name and, how shall we say, hierarchy of power, heavily Kabbalah, which leads back to Judaism, Hebraic mysticism. So you got to ask yourself, so it's confusing. So wait a minute, I thought these angels were Jewish, but they're responding to, you know where I'm going all this? It's, yeah. So go figure. Speaking of Julianne, I want to say thank you. Jules, you're such a gift to this tribe. You are a powerful, powerful master spirit. That's all I got to say, a teacher. And it's great. It's, the Soul Tribe, we have really been given a gift, and dare I say, humanity as well. So, Julianne Payne, we love you. Thank you for all that you do. She is a true alchemist. So there you go. And TL, good to have you a part of the group. Preston, we'll be getting back with you. Let's see. Checking all the things off my list, checking it twice. I love that lyrics in not going to cut my hair. And, David Crosby is singing about the paranoia of the day back then, because just having long hair, if you got pulled over, man, you were going to get hassled. That may, in some cases, been the least way of getting out. And he said, I love it in the lyrics. It says, I'm not going to give an inch to fear. Yeah. That's all I got to say. Hey, Isbe, what's up? Hello, Colleen. Good to see you. Big Al, what's up? Good to see you as well, brother. How's the deck coming? Hopefully you're getting, it's so cold out there. How are the roads, Al? Are you on the road? It's this kind of weather that makes it, wow, it makes you get real tight. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Let's see what else is going on. Hey, just me. Good to see you. I love that. That's cool. So these shadow people, shadow beings. I've been doing more reading, more research. The fact that we're talking about them and they have been spoken about. It's interesting, though, how something that's so obvious is so ignored. By the way, did anyone yesterday, this went all the way into when Lynn and I went to bed, I had the strongest, intense deja vu yesterday afternoon, leading all the way into yesterday evening. It was replete over and over. And I told my wife, I said, hon, I said, we've done this before. And it got so bad, I can say, I know what they're going to say. Now, I know what they say clinically is, they say there is this disconnect, is remember, the brain takes 15 seconds to fully assemble reality. So if it takes 15, Brandy says, I've had intense anxiety, which is not normal either. Interesting. And so 15 seconds, that's a long time. 15 seconds. You can get dead faster. I mean, it's ever been in like an accident, time slows down. That was the interesting thing about so many of the trips I took on with Dr. Timothy Leary, is I always loved the effect of how I could put my hand in front of me and my brain was able to synthesize each, because it's never fluid. What we're really doing is, and you could actually see that. Tracers, I think is what they called that back in the day. But anyway, this deja vu, wow, it was so intense. I don't know. Again, is it real or is it Memorex? Remember that commercial? Hey, Carolyn, I was aware of every 11122. Now it's interesting, Carolyn, because my wife, Lynn, she doesn't usually, as she says, see these things, but it was real interesting because yesterday, at exactly 2 p.m., 2:22 p.m., she looks directly up at this clock. Again, the synchronicities off the chart. Hey, Joe Sapien, what's up? Yeah, interesting. So, shadow people. I want to get into this because this is such an interesting subject matter. Now, I put this together, some time back, and it kind of just exemplifies, what we're dealing with. Here is a picture of a whatever, ghost, a soul, a spirit. Hard to say. These shadow people, here is a good picture of one. And you can see how it's fascinating. I mean, when you study these pictures, something's going on here. I'd love to get a scientist in on this because this is a different type of energy. It's clearly of a different nature or a different realm. Choose whichever you want, and you add your own. But the fact that, number one, they have structure, form, they absolutely, one or two things going on here. They either are absorbing all light or they're reflecting all light. But they're clearly here. And they come in so many different forms and beings. I mean, check this one out. This is, you can see, I don't know what the hell that is back there. It's something. And when you begin to think that this planet's pretty big, yeah. This man on the left, this is him on the right. He died unexpectedly. And when I hear that term, well, she died unexpectedly. Was she expecting to? I mean, how many of us say, on December the 9th, 2051, that um again with the ring cameras, we're picking up things that just, and my point here is these two are different. This one is very much different because unlike the shadow people, it seems that if you are made of a certain light, divine light, the spark, whatever, you give off a light. Where these shadow people, entities, evil, I don't know. I mean, if one of these are in children's bedrooms, it's going to get serious because I'm bringing out the heavy artillery. What the F would they be doing in such a thing? But then again, all different types of all over the world. Here again, this apparition is even after physical death, it appears that consciousness is transmuted and transferred, but the entities are very different. You've got the dark, you've got the light. Then you have this other realm where it appears that they lied to us. Either the worlds are very inaccessible for a spirit being. I don't believe that these are souls. I think these are spirits. But then again, the thing is that I find it interesting because it appears to be almost a trap. If we carry into the next realm any resemblance of our physical form in this life, then it tells me that, wait a minute, well, what about this reincarnation thing? And again, we don't see naked ghost. This apparition apparently has the clothes of her heir, whatever heir that may be. Then you've got these things that they just emit light. It looks as though they're robed, but it also appears that there is flesh to these, whatever they are. Again, not shadow people. Apparitions, again, full figure. They're obviously emitting light of some kind. The mist, many different forms. Again, this is that spirit or whatever. Then you have, in this case, this person was with a group of paranormal investigators, and they're in a cemetery. And one of the things that they do is that you're supposed to lay on a grave. And in this case, I think this dude may have gotten more than he bargained for. Then you've got this type of creature. They look like children. I do not believe that they're children. They cannot be seen most of the times with the naked eye, but yet they have been photographed. So who and what are these? Are they human? Don't think so. What about these? These are two different contrasting beings or phenomena. You have over on the left here, which is many times what is described, the mist, it's almost translucent figure. Then you got over on the right these hideous beings. These beings have been, and not to scare anyone, but these beings are particularly where adolescence is taking place. They crawl on the ceiling. They can, it's quite freaky, but we know that there is apparently a race of whatever these beings are, and they're really creepy looking. Different type of cryptids. Here again, shadows. Then you have, again, the full apparitions. This was taken on a home security motion camera, and this, it's obvious that this is a female. By the appearance of the dress, it would be dated about the late 1880s, right about that time period, it would appear. What's happened here? And again, they're not these shadow figures. These are a whole different class. Are they human? If they're human, why are they still here? Are they trapped? Is it really that bad that when we do pass over, how do they get trapped? Here, this individual saw the shadow figure. Again, many different aspects of what we're dealing with here. This is supposedly the man, the Hat Man. Again, what is the deal? This is a young woman wearing either evening attire, meaning bedclothes, or some other. Then you've got these, again, these shadows people that here is the man, the Hat Man. Now you can see that, and that would freak anyone out. I mean, if you're seeing that, wow. Who are you going to call? But we know that there is another race of beings that apparently live only in the woods. Different type of apparitions. Here is a shadow figure. You can see the distinct difference. Here was an apparition of what would appear to be a female, a woman, by dressed in attire would suggest probably 1920s. Again, you have the ghost figures. These are not the shadow people. They actually, again, are of a different substance. This is Gettysburg. Replete, if you ever go there, you will most likely see, and you can see it. This is during the daytime. You can see these things all times. But again, the difference here, this is not a shadow figure. You know, some say that this is residual energy. I don't know. This one is particularly strange because this woman here, this is actually her grave. They captured her sitting on a bench where her grave and her husband's grave is. I think this was captured a couple of days after her death. So, and you can clearly see that she is in her bathrobe or her evening robe. I find it so fascinating that we have just, again, you've got these creatures. These are, we're going to get into this one as well because they're around. They're apparently, as some call them the jinn. If they're the jinn, they're invading this side of the barrier. So anyway, yeah, it's like, okay, so what's going on? Something's going on. And we're still on. Did it not go through? Oh, how terrible. Well, y'all just got to listen to me for the last 20 minutes. Oh, well, technology, what do you do? Only seeing one picture. I get it, folks. And I may probably delete this one and do another one where you can actually see what I was talking about. And what a shame. I got so much out of it. I don't think y'all did, but maybe you can just, I'll just send it to you, what I got out of it, and then you can take it from there. Yeah, I get it. It's like, when you do something really good, you don't hear from anyone, but when you screw up, you hear from everybody. Wasn't that the classic line in Office Space? I love that movie. It's the two Bobs, and what was it? The guy said, he says, I got 8 bosses. He says that motivates me just enough not to do anything wrong, which means I'm not going to do anything at all. But anyway, and that's how we do it. It's technology. It just, we roll with it and it's fun. All right. Which makes me saying, hello, Gamel. What is that? Is that right? Gamel? How are you doing, Ginger? Good to see you as well. It sounded good. Absolutely. I got plenty out of it. I mean, in fact, actually you could disallow the one sensory perception of hearing and then let it paint the picture, without the visual effects. Are they predators? It's a good question. Are they predators? Nate Sutherland says, I was in Gettysburg in 89. And the weirdest thing was, wow, the KKK, really? Wow. Nina says, I was in the shower anyway. Well, see, there you go. It's radio. That's how we're just going to do it. It was radio. So, all right, let's see if this will work again. We are going to try to do this. Let's see. Hello, everybody. I guess I can see myself in the video in a box. What I can't see is everyone in the chat room. So it looks like it's stable. So we're gonna assume that it is, right? So good question. Are they Joe asks, are they nefarious? Are they somehow evil? What I have seen thus far, it's kind of both. Many of them seem to be really introverts. They don't want to be seen, but they like to be around company. Okay. Then you got the ones that are really creepy. And the thing that gets me creeped out on this is that these beings exist. So they're really into voyeurism. How messed up is that? I mean, if you're in the next dimension or have transcended to the next dimension, wow. So you get your jollies off by coming back and hanging around people's homes. That's just wrong. I mean, it's wrong, folks. I mean, that's all I got to say. It's pretty creepy. Now, if it's true that we actually coexist amongst many different dimensions in the same space, maybe not the same time, okay, but it still doesn't answer who these things are. So in this book that we're going with, Darkness Walks the Shadow People Among Us, the author goes and says, have you seen, and by the way, lots of people have seen these. I went back and looked at the comments, looked at the comments in the chat room. A lot of people have seen them. And that kind of leads me to conclude they're here. And it doesn't seem there is much that we can do about it. This is what's disturbing. It really seems we're powerless in one aspect of having control over them. So he says, walking through your room at night, have they been cloaked like the Grim Reaper? Have they glared at you from the darkness with glowing eyes, red eyes, or worse, have they touched you? I know you have a story, or you probably wouldn't be reading this book. Do you know what these shadow people are? Carl Beckman's father thought he did. Shortly after Beckman's father died in 1992, Beckham discovered something he could never wipe from his mind. My brother told me that one night he was bringing my dad home from the doctor's office, he said. When they got to the house, my dad told him to pull his car so that he could shine the headlights into the backyard because he wanted to see what was out there. Beckham's brother saw nothing strange in the backyard, but since their father slept in the back of the house, his room would have overlooked the yard. Beckham wondered what his father was looking for. When I went into his room, I was shocked to see that he had placed several homemade locks, pieces of wood nailed onto the door, like he was trying to keep something out. Beckham's father saw blacker than night spirits roaming the yard. Spirits, he was afraid, fed off the dying. Although no one else in the family could see these shadow people, Beckham's father could, and he was terrified of them. Terror often accompanies these entities, sometimes because of the unknown, but other times just the presence of a shadow man pulls raw fear to the surface of your consciousness. Now, this is strange because it seems like maybe our two species are of two different realms, two different creators, two different worlds. Yeah. Do you think God actually created these beings? That's the same God that everyone thinks created us? Where's Jesus for these people, for these beings? What are you saying, that they don't have redemption? Oh, what is that only allowed for the elite? Independence, Missouri-based psychic Margie Kay is familiar with the shadow people and said these entities come from a number of different sources, but that one type of shadow person feeds off terror. I think that shadow people are just people that live in a higher dimension than us. Interesting, a higher dimension. And they may look just like us on the other side, but we can only see their outline. Interesting. So that would imply we're seeing an interdimensional connection here. She goes on to say, and are likely not, and may even be some other type of entity who gets their energy from fear. Yeah. And I think that the fact that there is a terrible side to this thing. I mean, we'll get more into this later, but whoa. Hopefully you can see this. I'm still seeing myself move. So some people say that this is a psychological disorder. I don't think so. Omens of impending doom. Don't think so either. Beings from a different dimension. Yeah, I can go with that. Extraterrestrials. I don't know. Maybe. Angel of death. Nah. Demons. Maybe the ones that you couldn't see. I don't think, and Ghost, no, because what I was showing that no one got to see, you have the ghosts that, they're light, but you got these beings, they're not. In this guy, he conducted a poll that respondents overwhelmingly believed shadow people are beings from a different dimension. I would agree. So some history on them. Shadow entities have been part of our cultural mythos, presumably forever, but specific descriptions of shadow people can be traced back to recent history with an 1887 short story, La Horla, by French author Guy de Maupassant. Details of paranormal activity in Maupassant's story correspond with many shadow people reports. Maupassant, fictional tale, which deals with an aristocrat's descent into madness, describes a fear of sleep, seeing a dark presence in the periphery, and finally feeling the presence become more invasive to the point of attack. One of the actors that I had the privilege of meeting was Vincent Price. And it's quite interesting because in any of you who've ever followed Vincent Price and his movies, he actually did a couple of where this evil. In fact, it's some what could say is some from the vampire genre. Anyway, the terror that Maupassant characters experience is common in many shadow people encounters. Have you ever experienced night paralysis? Raise your hand. Yes. And you know how terrifying that is until you finally, for myself, I finally had to mentally get to the discipline of this sense of helplessness. And particularly if you sense or see entities that are in your bedroom. Not a groovy thing to be experienced. Last night, I felt that somebody was squatting on me, putting his mouth on mine, drinking my life out through my lips. This sounds like an incubus or a succubus, the character says. Yes, I really felt that he was sucking my life out through my throat, just like a leech would do. Maupassant's characters later postulates he is possessed by this entity that has stalked him. This, again, is a behavior reported in some of shadow people's encounters. The term shadow people appeared in popular culture in 1953 in the radio drama Creatures in the Shadows, also known by the title The Shadow People, that appeared in Chicago's WJN AM Hall of Fantasy. But the earliest shadow people report I have been able to uncover occurred to Charles G. Parcells, now of Ottawa, North Carolina, in 1949. My encounter was a long time ago, but I still remember it very well, Parcells said. Of course, at the time it occurred, I'm sure the term shadow man had not been coined. Charles was 13 years old and lived with his mother, brother, and grandmother in San Jose, California, when a shadow man invaded his life. It was around 10 at night, with just a few faint glows of streetlights visible through the windows. My brother and I laying on our beds, talking a bit before going to sleep. Diagonally from Charles was an old-fashioned sash window, not curtained or shaded, which looked out over a walkway that ran alongside the house. All at once, a dark figure dressed in a black cloak and wearing a black hat with a wide brim and tall crown appeared in the window. He recalled, no facial features were discernible on this person, but I took it to be a man. The shadow man stood at the window, reached out both hands, and in complete silence raised the bottom sash. I thought he was going to climb in, Parcells said. At that moment, I started yelling my head off in total fear. As I did so, the figure reached up and silently closed the window, turned and moved out of sight. My mother burst into the room to see what the yelling was about. I need not go into the scene, Purcell said, since my tale was profoundly doubted. But the next day, Charles discovered that the shadow man was something more than a flesh and blood man. The window had been locked from the inside the whole time, he said. The window, either opening or closing, made an audible, raspy, squeaky sound. Outside, no footprints dotted the soft earth between the window and the walkway, but I saw something, so what in the hell was it? The book contains hundreds of such firsthand accounts of these shadow people. Many of the people whose stories appear in this book requested anonymity, and those people I can only refer to by first name. As a journalist, I collected stories from face-to-face interviews, telephone interviews, email, and comments posted on my blog, which is shadows.blogspot.com. But this book isn't just a collection of shadow people's stories. It's an attempt to explain this phenomenon from viewpoints of physics, psychology, metaphysics, Western religion, and American Indian shamanism. Many people believe shadow people are beings from a different dimensions. Others think these walking shadows are demons, ghosts, and a psychological disorder, extraterrestrials, angels of death, yada, yada, yada. All right, so let's get into the science of the shadow people. It says science rules the universe. If you drop a hammer, it falls. If you drop a hammer and a tennis ball, they fall at the same rate. If you see something that isn't physically there, it may be something biochemical or electrical dancing on your brain. But how do these rules apply to the paranormal universe? Is there really a paranormal universe, or is it just that we're just not equipped to expand what normalcy is? In this chapter, he says, I will look into the physics, the psychology, and the neuroscience and attempt to deconstruct the shadow people, those creatures that appear to be both solid and vapor, a walking nightmare, and a sleep disorder, a real entity looming over you, and the product of electric stimulation to the brain. Basic physics. Mary Kay, again, of Independence, Missouri, relates a story told by her 11-year-old granddaughter, Cynthia, about an encounter with a shadow person. She said that one night she woke up in the middle of the night to see an outline of a 6-foot-tall person standing in her room, looking away from her at the TV set that had come on apparently by itself. The person turned around and looked at her for a few seconds, then just dissolved away. She said it had no features. She did not sleep the rest of the night and wouldn't even get out of bed to turn off the TV until it was daylight. To the Northwest Missouri State University chemistry and physics professor, Rick Tomey, something solid enough to cast a shadow and hold its shape can't just dissolve. Matter comes in 3 forms: gas, liquid, and solid. And only gas dissipates into the air. If it's not solid or liquid, it has to be a vapor. Gases don't maintain shape, he said, and you'd need a pretty high density of gas to prevent the transmission of light. Those noble gases, huh? So for shadow people to exist, according to physics, Tomey said, they have to be really dense. It has to be a physical entity that's solid. It's not liquid. It's not gas, Tomey said. That's why I have a problem with ghosts opening doors. A gas isn't going to surround a doorknob and apply torque. I can't buy into it. Tomey's colleagues at the university physics department, Dave Richardson, shares Tomey's concern. Given the many reports of shadow people walking through someone's bedroom, they have to be solid. If you just look at what a shadow actually means, when they're produced, there must be a blockage of light somewhere, or the removal of light in some way. From a scientist point of view, they have to be opaque. Unless it was incredibly dense, the gas wouldn't do much. For example, smoke casts a shadow. Well, how can smoke do that? But can't retain a shape and quickly dissipates. From Cynthia's shadow to look like a man and to turn on the television, it has to have something else. It seems a difficult thing to actually reconcile with what we know about light and shadows. But what of shadow people who can't exert a physical force? Like the experience of Donnie from Montana. I was sleeping on my side when I was awoken by what felt like someone sitting on my bed behind me. That ain't cool. I felt someone striking their finger to the middle of my back. When he opened his eyes, 3 shadow beings stood around his bed, and he was afraid to look at what might be poking him from behind. Donnie had felt a touch, although the entities slowly dissipated. I don't know, were they being beamed up? Those 2 events don't correspond to known science. Physically, we can't feel the force extended by gas particles, Toomey said. In order for you to feel pressure, you have to scuba dive or somebody drops a rock on your head. You have to have mass to exert a physical force. So for Donnie to have felt someone, A, sitting on the bed, 2, and a poke in the back, something solid had to be in his room. To have a physical push, you have to have matter. Even when you can't see it? Toomey said, what matter do you have? Solid, liquid, and gas. That's it. From that point, you don't have many places to go. If you're feeling a touch, there has to be a push as far as physics is concerned. Of course, many believe shadow people aren't science. People say it's not a physical force. It's an ethereal force. Toomey said gravity only works in one direction. How many times did light knock you down? But people don't have to be touched to feel. As Rayan of Cape Town, South Africa, discovered when he reached into a shadow person. I was lying in bed, getting ready to slumber off, when I noticed that in the corner where my bed was placed, there seemed to be an exceptionally dark and dense patch, Rayan said. I told myself that it's nothing but a play of light, shadows created by my curtains. As Ryan laid there, his imagination running scenarios through his mind. Is it a light trick? An intruder? A ghost? He extended his arm and reached into the void. I struck out my hand and slowly moved it so that I can touch the corner of the wall, which was not very visible due to this dark patch. As my hand touched this patch, I got a sudden sensation that can be equaled to having a light shock, similar to a static electricity. Well, since I'm not a man of science, obviously, I would say that would be some form of physical matter. I don't know. Ryan snapped his arm away from the dark patch. His arm suddenly started to feel very lame, with needles and pins crawling all over his skin. He said, it felt like my skin was contracting and getting very tight, and I lost all mobility in my arm. I'm just going to throw this out there. I mean, do you think the dude may have been actually reaching into another dimension? They say the D-Wave computer did. I wonder if that's how they created that bubble, that artificial universe. Ryan snapped his arm back. Although Richardson agrees that something has to be solid to physically touch something else, people can occasionally feel they're being touched without really being touched. Maybe there was some electrical interaction, he said. That's what scientists do. They get so trapped because, well, there's only the 3 points of matter. Maybe you forgot the ethereal. Anyway, I digress. There needs to be something that raises the hair on your arm that would give you the feeling that you're being touched, like static electricity on a hairbrush. Of course, if it's an electrical field that's causing the sensation, you have more immediate problems to deal with than shadow people. If you're in a high enough field like that, you don't really have to be that close to it to actually feel it, Richardson said. If you get too close, you get shocks that do hurt. All right. Different dimensions. One common explanation many people give for shadow people is that they're beings from a different dimension that somehow bleeds into ours. Such is the conclusion of a paranormal investigator from California who goes by an online name, Froggy. Froggy has seen shadow people during investigation and in his personal life. It's interesting, so many people having the same or very familiar experience, he said. I too have had this phenomenon of being paralyzed as if something was on top of me. My brothers also had the attack. And one brother witnessed a shadow person way back in the 1980s. Before shadow people was even a buzzword. During a November 2007 trip to La Persurama mission, Froggy photographed one. I believe we live among many different dimensions, Froggy said. Ghosts live in one dimension, shadow people in another, and our dimension can cross, making it possible for us to come in contact with each other. How does Froggy's belief match up with the science? Marie Jones, author of Science, How New Discoveries in Quantum Physics and New Sciences May Explain the Existence of Paranormal Phenomena, agrees other dimensions could be a possible source for shadow people. In my research into quantum and theoretical physics, I came across 3 concepts that really open up the possibilities to me that entities from somewhere else could be coming here, showing up as either imprinted projections or actual semi-physical manifestations such as poltergeist, etc., Jones said. One of the 3 concepts is parallel universes. Theoretically, if these infinite other universes actually do exist, we really should not physically be able to access them based upon our known laws of physics. Yet even theoretical physicists entertain the thought that perhaps the laws of physics on the other side allow for some crossover. Jones' second concept has to do with spatial and temporal alternate dimensions. We are told that these dimensions could be infinite in size and exist at the tip of our very nose. Again, our laws of physics do not allow us to cross into them at will. But if there is some sort of resonant synchronization of energy, perhaps a doorway is open just long enough to allow something to slip on through. The third possibility, Jones says, is the 0-point field, which is an electromagnetic energy field that fills a vacuum. Within this field lies the landscape of time, past, present, and future. Linear time is only a human illusion, but in the quantum world, there is no linear nature. It all happens at once. In this field, Jones explains, is everyone who has died, is now living, and will live. That opens the door to the possibility that certain people tap into this field for information such as remote viewing, psychic abilities, and even healing others, she said. It also presents the possibility that entities may be coming from the field, manifesting in our level of reality, which is really just one among many levels, then vanishing back into the field. This, Jones says, could explain the nature of most ghosts and shadow people. Although some physicists entertain the idea of these multiple or parallel universes, Richardson and Toomey aren't among them, said Richardson. If shadow people are solid and we kind of ignore the people who say that they put their hands through them, I always hate to bring up this in context, but if there were extra dimensions, there could be the effect of something similar. Shadow people might actually be people. I'm skeptical of that, but it's possible. We're just starting to figure out that sort of stuff. Ain't that the truth? Toomey's not as forgiving of the theory that makes 11 dimensions possible, string theory, in which there are more 4 dimensions, each small and string-like. String theory is math, it's not science. Whoa. Well, you can postulate that there are 11 dimensions. You can't test it. Until string theory produces a testable hypothesis, it's not science. It might as well be the paranormal. Interdimensional is about as science fiction as it gets. Well, I think we've just been insulted, ladies and gentlemen. Well, how dare you, Nuts. All right, I want to go a little bit in the sleep paralysis. Sardonic Laconic, an online name, he is sardonic after all, saw the Shadow Man as a child. The memories have haunted me ever since, he said. When I was 6, I saw it in my dad's new house, towering over my bed. I couldn't move. I don't remember what happened next. All I remember is trying to scream, but there was this horrible weight on my chest. This type of encounter is all too common and psychologically has a name for it, sleep paralysis. As an anonymous poster to my paranormal blog put it, it's a simple psychological phenomenon similar to sleepwalking. When you go to sleep and dream, your brain shuts down the connection to your body so that you don't walk and thrash about in your sleep. Well, but people turn in their sleep. Anyway, I digress. Just because you're moving in your dreams, when this connection fails to shut off, you get sleepwalking. When you wake up before it can reconnect, you're paralyzed until it turns back on. End of story. No aliens, no shadow people, just science. Well, I beg to differ. I don't think it's quite that neat little bow-tied package. But that's what, denialists do. It's much easier to stay and color in the lines. April Hiberian, a psychology professor at Northwest Missouri State, agrees the shadow people encounters are probably the product of dreams. Hiberian said that when people sleep and enter REM phase, it's very common for them to see things. There is no life after death. Once you die, your brain implodes. All those synaptic pathways are imploding. You're seeing the light because you're still in that realm of, believe it or not, you're in the death realm. In the death realm, it is a realm. You're still alive and you're dead at the same time. according to science. And then at that point, when the last molecule fades out, so do you. You're gone. No one's going to remember you. You're not going to remember anything. You're gone. I don't believe that. And I think it's very sad that people believe that. They may wake up in that reality until someone rescues them. I don't know. Online poster Midnight Haze reported an experience somewhat similar to sardonyx, although during the encounter, Midnight Haze was an adult. I had lived in a 2-bedroom apartment for at least 12 years. He said, I was sleeping on my side when I was awakened by what felt like someone sitting on my bed behind me. I felt what felt like someone sticking their finger in the middle of my back, and I was now paralyzed. I could not move, but I could open my eyes. When I opened my eyes, there were 3 black figures in the corner of the room. 2 were as tall as adults, and 1 was shorter. Now, in both fear of someone behind me and the figures in the corner, I started to pray to God to help me as I closed my eyes. I opened my eyes again, and the shadows were gone, and I could move again. It's a bloody miracle. I've seen that happen, by the way, at, all right, we're going to drop off, right? We're going to pick up on this tomorrow. We're not going to let this go. We're going to continue. Hopefully everyone saw me. But, when I used to travel a lot and fly a lot, Linda says, I just saw a scientific study where they caught a man's brain waves when he died. Yes, the brain lit up in the same areas that we do memory retrieval as he was passing over. Isn't that interesting? That moment of death in its fact, it's called the death realm. It's more pronounced with others, and some it's not at all. But back to the point of where I've seen these miracles take place. The frequent flyer and the level that I was at, I was always at the front of the line, either the first or second. Except for those who needed assistance to get onto the plane. And you see it all. You see them with the wheelchairs rolling them in, and you see them, of course, with, crutches and canes, and, you get used to it. But as I was telling one of the stewardesses, flew United quite a bit, and you get to know the crews. I said, it's the most interesting phenomenon. And she says, well, what? I said, well, is the fact that more healings take place in airlines. And she says, I don't get what you're implying. I said, before we boarded, I said, how many people got on here? There was at least almost a dozen. And I said, they all needed assistance, and, they had things that made it necessary. I said, but what I find so odd is that when we land, almost all of them have the miraculous healing. They don't need no goddamn wheelchair no more. They don't need the crutches. Let me out of here. I got places to go. And it's a fact. And as I told her, and she said, I think you're right. She said, I never thought about it before, but you're right. She said, I've seen a lot of them. So anyway, Joe says, my old friend believes that it's light out on death. Boy, is he going to be surprised. My brother used to think that way. He doesn't now. He's beginning to go, well, maybe not. Yeah, maybe not is true. So, okay. Nina's got her Hump Day show here in about 55 minutes. So check that out. Thank you, everyone. This has been fun. Learning a lot. So, if you ever experience one of these beings now you can begin to say, all right, so it's not a gas, it's not a liquid, it's not a solid. Now you can say, as a scientific investigator, I'd like to know, who the hell are you, and how are you doing this? Can you see the spirits going now? Oh, crap, they're bringing science in now. We're going to have to tell them how this is done. Yeah, that's what we want. All right, folks, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate it. Gaia, big hugs to you and Paul as well. Much love to you too. Martin and Heidi and Deborah Truax. The exact thing happens to me. Oh, I don't know what that was. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Going to make like a hockey player and get the puck out of here. I got to make like a tree and leave. So there we go. Hey, Chris, how are you doing, my dear? Good to see you. Grandpa Brian, have yourself a fabulous day. Big Al, Shannon, good to see you. Bridge walkers. Oh, I like that. We ought to coin that one while we can. That's a good one. Matthew, appreciate it. All right, folks, have yourself a great day. Listen, it is true. Your past, your present, your future is all now. You're already dead, but you're already born. Wow. How do you meet yourself coming and going? You know, that's like having hallway sex. And I won't go any further than that. All right. Much love to everybody. Peace, everyone. Put a smile on your face, and it makes the place a better place to be. The smiles are contagious, and guess what? They're virus free. There you go. All right, everyone. See you tomorrow.